Welcome back to another episode of the My Latin Life podcast. Since 2014, My Latin Life has been your trusted guide to traveling and living in Latin America. My guest today is CEO Josh, also known on Twitter as Wi-Fi Made. Josh, how's it going, man?
You know what? I'm doing pretty well, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, thank you. Where are you calling in from today?
Today I'm in Miami at my condo, but I did just get back from Mexico yesterday. So, yeah.
Oh, sick. Where were you?
I was in Playa del Carmen. It's my favorite city in Mexico, even though it's a little bit too touristic. I still do love it. I don't know, it just has something magical about it.
Okay, sick. I know Playa quite well, so we'll definitely get to that in this episode. I thought the best way to start for the audience is just to describe who you are a little bit for people that don't know. I think there's probably things that I'll discover about you as well in this episode. You're an eclectic entrepreneur. You got multiple businesses on the go. Seems like I think you got your start maybe in Shopify, e-commerce stores, FBA, something like that, but you've branched out and you're doing a lot of cool stuff. How would you describe yourself?
Damn, it's such a good question, but the way I would describe myself is just like free spirited in the sense that I try and do everything under the parameters of, not being forced, right? So, for example, the businesses that I do, I only do them because I want to do them. Whatever I do during my day, I only do it because I want to do it, right? This is kind of how I set up my life. But yeah, I got started in ecom. My original first thing was called SEO. I did it when I was 14. It didn't really work out that well, but at least
Mhm.
gave me some sort of, tangible start and an idea of how I can make money online. And then I got kicked out of my mom's house when I was 18 before I graduated high school. And that summer is when I found Amazon FBA. And then I ended up moving to Shopify because I thought it'd be cool to like show girls that I own my own website, which is like a really dumb reason to switch over, but it worked out well. And then, yeah, so I partnered with my business partner in 2019 and we've been doing that. And then now I also have Discord group course and I'm building a tequila brand as we speak, which will be my passion project for probably the next 10 to 20 years. So that's one I'm really, really excited about.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that as well. I try to go in somewhat sequential order. And so I'd love to hear the story about how you got a scholarship to Notre Dame, a very
Yeah.
good school, and you decided not to take up that scholarship.
Yeah. So in high school, I've always done sports and I've always been very athletic. I've always been very good at sports. But in high school, I was doing swimming and I was really, really good. And I ended up getting a scholarship opportunity to Notre Dame, which I verbally agreed to. I did not sign it. And then it was around this time I just hated school more than anything. And I had, some troubles going on at home. And so I was just like, you know what, fuck this. I'm not going to college. It's just not for me. So when I told my parents that I was, not going to accept the scholarship, that definitely just sent them over the edge because, my parents didn't even have enough money to send me to college as it was. So I was going to have to pay for it. So in their eyes, I was a complete failure for, passing up that opportunity. So yeah, I ended up just telling them no, and then that's kind of what led them to say, "Hey, we kind of got to kick you out for this reason." My parents are very traditional, like, and it's no animosity or anything towards them whatsoever, because in their hearts, they were just doing what they thought was best, right? Like they were trying to say, give me an ultimatum, like either you go to school or you get kicked out. So in their perspective, I do understand, right? So it's all good. But one person that did always support me was my dad, which he lives in another city. It was my mom and my stepdad. But yeah, my dad always told me, even though I gave up the scholarship, he was like, if you're gonna do something, just fucking gas pedal, just do it. So yeah, I mean, it was obviously the best decision I ever made in my life to not take that scholarship.
Yeah, it makes sense because if you do choose to take a non-conventional path, you know, compared to the opportunity to go to Notre Dame, I guess you got to do it well, right? And you got that, that'll give you that chip on the shoulder.
100%. Yeah, I mean, at that point, I don't know. It was just kind of at this point, it was like all or nothing, right? It's like I understood the depth of what I was giving up, right? Because, Notre Dame's like a prestigious school, and I would have gone for, probably like business or something. And of course, you'd probably get placed at a job, making like, I don't know, like maybe like 200K a year, 150K a year, something right off the bat. So that's like a lot of security to give up and free schooling. So yeah, at that point, I was just like, fuck, I gotta make something of myself.
Hmm. And so now I believe you're 24 years old.
Yeah.
So if you did go to school, you would have graduated when you were what, 22, and then you'd be, 2 years into your career. So instead, you've actually been working full time for like 6 years.
Yeah, so my goal was always okay, so when I was in high school, there was like this period of time where I used to try and post like motivational stuff on Snapchat. Like I'd be on Snapchat saying like, oh, mindset, this, and this. And like people would kind of make fun of me for it. Not everyone, but there's just certain people who would make fun of me for it. And I had this burning desire and this goal. I always vividly remember this. I said, by the time you guys graduate college, I'm gonna be fucking rich, right? That was like my whole thing is that I wanted by the time they graduated college, I wanted to be rich at 22, right? And
Hmm.
funny enough, I have a whole thread on Twitter about literally how I became a millionaire at 22. So it worked out well, man. But I do look back on it and you know, I don't really have any regrets. I know there's probably, certain things I could have done differently, but yeah, everything's led to now. So I'm happy.
Do you want to give us a synopsis of that thread about how you became a millionaire by 22?
Yeah, of course. So, kind of the intro of it was what I was telling you guys before, which is, e-commerce. And then in the AMC era of stocks, which I'm sure everyone remembers, there is a guy called Zach Morris, which I believe he's actually now under FTC or SEC investigation for like pump and dumps. But he was like a big like shot player or a shot caller on Twitter, talking about like buy this, buy this, buy this. And he told me to get into AMC. He told me to get into SNDL, and he told me to get into GameStop. I made a pretty good amount of money there. Also made a lot of money. Shout out to Cy Watson. He gave me some really good crypto calls, made some money there, and then also making money still from ecom and moving into other things such as like consulting, which I don't do consulting anymore, but course selling, things like that. So it's worked out really well, man. And I don't know, I'm very thankful. Like I never thought, I always knew I wanted to be here, but I never thought I'd get here. So it's just crazy to see it all come to fruition.
Interesting. So it didn't just happen from one thing or one business or liquidity event, but it was actually having your hands in multiple pots.
Yeah, which, I really do recommend for a lot of people to just focus on one thing. The reason why I pivoted into those two things for a short period of time was just because the opportunity was too good to pass up on. Um, you know, the whole like GameStop era of stocks, like that probably will never happen again to the point where you can just, you know, basically make a whole house worth of money in a day, from not really knowing shit about stocks. Or, crypto bull runs only come once every 3 to 5 years. So those opportunities were just kind of too good to pass up at the time. But yeah, generally speaking, I really do recommend people kind of focus on one thing at a time and really master it. But a majority of my money has come from e-commerce. Those were just nice little extra cushions to push me towards the goalpost.
So it sounds like you were probably putting in, I don't know, let's just say 50K into like single stocks and then hoping that that doubled or tripled or something. Was that freaky at the time? Have you always been a YOLO type of guy?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll get into some stories. Like everyone, like all my like friends that know me in real life know like I'm a legitimate degenerate. Like I'm fucking insane, which is crazy because I was such a tranquil kid growing up. I did get into a lot of fights as a kid, but I've never really been a crazy risk taker as a kid. And then it was just something when I turned like 16, I just turned into a fucking madman. And it's funny is like as I get older, people say normally like as you get older, you kind of slow down a little bit, you kind of become a little bit more, methodical. I don't even know if methodical would be the word, but you become more chill. I'm literally the opposite. Like the older I get, the more fucking lunatic I get because I have more like resources available to me. I know more people, more places. I make more money, so it's like it just amplifies it. So yeah, I don't know. I just like to live a good life.
So you grew up in LA. I guess for maybe the super fans, did you publicize like what neighborhood in LA you're from?
Yeah, so I actually grew up in a city just south of LA. It's called Long Beach. I just say LA because it makes it way easier. But I grew up in North Long Beach, which anyone who's from Long Beach knows it is the absolute shithole of Long Beach. It is not a great place. And then for high school, I moved out to a city called Corona, California, which not really, I don't know, it's just fucking, it's a very boring city. Very glad I got out of there. But yeah, that's where I grew up in Long Beach. It's, in my opinion, even though, I wasn't in the best area, I love Long Beach. It's one of my favorite cities in the entire world.
At what point did you move to Miami?
I moved to Miami in June of 2021. So I'm coming up on, it's been about a year and a half.
So I guess at that point you were already working for like 4 years, I guess, and doing the entrepreneurial thing and more or less already a millionaire.
Yeah. So the reason I came to Miami was for two things. One was taxes. I was fucking tired of California's taxes. And the second thing is I'm very motivated by girls. And Miami has the exact demographic of girls that I was looking for. I love Latinas. Everyone knows this. So I had came to Miami my first time, I think in 20, maybe early 2020, and I just fell in love with it. Like it was just the most amazing, and I still feel this way. Like every single day I go outside, I just love Miami. Yeah, so I just came here and I just fell in love. But the thing is with Miami, it's very distracting, very, very distracting. So the first 50 days that I was here, I did not get one single thing done. Not one thing. I was just out, 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 out. So it's something I'm still even to this day trying to learn how to manage my time here. But yeah, dude, best city in the world.
That's sick. And I think I heard in the other interview that you are living in Brickell.
Yes, which is, in my opinion, the best part of Miami.
So living in Brickell, tell me a little bit about the vibe. Like, what's so distracting about it?
You know, I put out a tweet about this, right? I think that if you're like an introverted person, life will be a lot easier for you in a place like Miami or like any major city where there's something to do. It's just that I'm very extroverted. I just love people. I love to go out. I love to have a good time. And in Brickell, especially, there is everything you need within a 2-minute walk, right? So you can go downstairs. I have on my same block. I have like 4 or 5 bars. I have a grocery store front, which I don't do groceries. I just do like meal prep. But my barber shop's right here. Plenty of restaurants. 2 blocks down, I have a cigar lounge. There's so many beautiful girls here. It's just everything you could possibly need is just right here. It's very easy to go, and then like I have so many friends here that they'll all hit me up and say, "Hey, let's do something tonight." Like for example, last night was a Tuesday night and we fucking went out on a bender, right? So yeah, that's kind of what the vibe is like in Brickell, but it's also very motivating too because there's so many people that are making so much money here. It motivates you to go harder. That's one thing in certain cities is that like if you're in a small town in I don't know like Kentucky. I don't know. We'll just pick Kentucky, right? There's not going to be anyone driving around Lambos. There's not going to be anyone, flexing Rolexes or, although those are just materialistic things, those are definitely indicators of, people are doing well. So when you see this stuff nonstop, you just see supercars ripping by. You see people with nice watches, expensive dinners. It really puts you in the mindset like, okay, there's a lot that's possible out here. Like I never felt broke until I came to Miami. Like I was like, damn, I'm this baller, blah, 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 blah. And then I came here and then like right across the street is like a $60 million penthouse. I'm like, well, fuck, I can't afford that. right? So there's levels to it. So that's one thing I really really like about this area. It puts you in perspective that you have so much more to grow.
What were you doing in LA from like 18 to 22? I heard that some family friend took you in when you were getting started at 18, and then but that it was 4 years that you were in LA like as an adult outside of your family's house. Tell us a little bit about that those early days and that grind.
Yeah, so I lived with my friend for maybe like 8 months, something like that. And then I went to go live with my dad. There was a couple things kind of going on at the time, which I needed to be present there. And it ended up being such an amazing experience because, like I said, my parents had been split, and I'd been with my mom for as long as I can remember. So I got like 4 years or 3.5 years, somewhere around there, to live with my dad. And my dad's like my best friend. Like, he's so awesome, and we get along really well. So it was like a very nice bonding experience time. So that's where I was in Long Beach after I left Robert and Jordan's house. Is I went with my dad, and it was a really really good time. And then I would go from Long Beach to LA because that's where the big ecom scene was at the time. It was everyone was in LA. Like, that's like Hollywood Hills is like just where it was at the time. So I
Mhm.
would bounce back and forth between Long Beach and LA.
How did you build your network, I guess, starting in LA and then in Miami?
I'm going to give a huge shout out to my business partner, Omar. So he is really good at networking. Like, he is really, really good at networking. I was always that guy where I was like, oh, I'm going to be low key. Like, I want to be that guy who makes money and nobody knows me. But the thing that I realized is that, your network is your net worth, right? So he actually started ecom after me, and he was a savage networker. Like, he became so good at networking. And then once we started working together, everyone kind of knew of him, but they didn't really know of me. And then so I kind of got plugged in like that. And then my personal brand just like fucking exploded. So that's kind of how it went down in LA. But as far as Miami, most of the people, I already knew in Miami because they were all moving from other areas, right? So a lot of them came from LA, a lot of them came from New York. So all these people, like, I had known them either through Instagram. I hadn't even made a Twitter account yet when I came to Miami. So either through Instagram or, meetups, like ecom meetups, I had met a lot of them. So I already had like an insane network of people by the time I moved here.
So a mix of online and in-person meetups.
Yeah, I would say definitely the best ones have been the in-person meetups. Like, there was an event in LA and an event in Miami, hosted by Luke Belmar and Luke Annette. Shout out to them. And still to this day, those two events have produced, some of the best friends I could have ever asked for. So yeah, always try and do in-person meetups.
Very cool. Yeah, I have a couple of different directions I could go, but I'd love to hear about Omar. Who is your business partner, Omar?
Yeah, so Omar is my friend that I've known since we must have been like 12 or 13. Or yeah, probably like 12. And I started dropshipping in 2017, and then he started in 2018, and by the time he started, I was already doing relatively well. And we would like get on phone calls together, and I would like help him out. And then he was always like, yo, like, let's partner on a store together, blah blah blah. And then I was like, well, you need to like show me something first. And then in 2019, he had a really really good breakout month in January. I think he did like 100K. And so I was like, all right, let's do this. And so we partnered together, I think in like Q1 or Q2 of 2019, and we've just been working together ever since. It just works out so well. We just like have skills that complement each other. Like, we're both really good at marketing, but I'm more so the front end marketing guy, and then he's more so on the back end, and it just works out really well. But yeah, he's awesome. He's very much more reserved than I am. He likes to have fun, but he's more reserved. Like, he has his girlfriend, he has his dog. He likes to live a more relaxed life. So it just works out well. We're like a dynamic duo.
So you said that. Sorry if I'm confusing this, but he's more front end and you're more back end. What does that
No,
mean?
no, I'm front end, he's back end. So basically, like my specialty is marketing, like getting eyeballs on a product, coming up with new angles, new creatives, new ideas. He's very much about building systems, making sure our business is systemized, which that's kind of the reason I'm able to travel so much is because our business is systemized. I don't really have to do much besides, check ads every now and then. So yeah, that's kind of like our roles in the business.
Cool. And so how does it work with these Shopify stores? Like you partner like with people on one store at a time or one product at a time?
So I personally don't partner with anyone. I don't do partner stores. But yeah, like if someone wants to get into Shopify, then yeah, they can create a Shopify store. It's a free trial, and there's enough free information on Twitter. If you guys want to just literally scroll through my account, I've put out so many fucking threads for free. Anyone can get started on that. But yeah, as far as what we do is we do what's called horizontal scale. So once we find something that works, what we'll do is we'll duplicate the store multiple times to give people the illusion of choice, right? So, for example, Coca Cola. This is a easy to follow example. Like Coca Cola owns probably 90% of all the major soda companies, right? So it wouldn't like the reason Coca Cola just doesn't call this one, Coca Cola this, Coca Cola that, is because they want to give consumers the illusion of choice. So instead, when you're getting Sprite, instead of just calling it Coca Cola Citrus, they call it Sprite, right? So that's kind of what we do with our stores is that we will create duplicate stores and sell the same product so consumers think that they have the illusion of choice and really it's just us selling the product to them.
Mm, okay. And I know people are often pretty cagey about niches and things like that, but just to give people a sense of what you do, are you working with like American based products or Asian based products that you're importing? Are you working with like specific niches, specific price points?
Oh yeah, no, I'll drop it all. I really like. I've put this all on Twitter. The thing is, so I'll answer in a second. I don't know why people are so blocked off about this stuff because the market is like it's so big that even if I say, oh, my best niche is this, which I'll tell you guys what it is in just a second, people think like, oh, this is gonna be the end all be all. The thing is like 90% of the people that listen to something, they're not really gonna take action on it. So but yeah, my best niches by far is clothing and jewelry. That's by far my best one. The second best one is going to be home decor, and then the third best one is the baby niche. I can go into all of them. So it's like clothing and jewelry is good because I do story based marketing. So I'd like find a very unique piece of clothing or jewelry, and then I will attach a story to it. Right. So for example, one of my best ones was called the Head in the Clouds necklace. It was a necklace that it was literally just like this little blue orb that looked like it had cloud in the middle of it. And what I did is I marketed as like, towards girls who are big dreamers and they have big aspirations, right? So I attached a story to it, right? Um, for home decor, similar, right? I like to do story based as well. Customized home decor works really well, but to give you an example for a story that you can do with like home decor, is there was a home decor product which I can't say the actual product because it's something that we're still actively running, but it is a product that I've attached a story about, commemorating someone that's passed away, right? Which I have my older brother who passed away, so I understand how to market towards that, right? So if I can provide someone with something that gives them like a feeling of relief, right? That every time I see this, I get to have a warm feeling inside, right? So there's that, and then the baby niche is really good because you can really like tap into someone's primal instincts. Like there's nobody on this planet who will buy something more than a mother for their child, right? Because
Hmm.
let's say a child is going through teething pain, and you have the magic teething pain solution, the mother will buy that in a heartbeat, right? So, and the baby niche is always growing. Like people are always fucking and making more babies, so that's never going to go away. So, yeah, those are by far my best ones. And then yes, all of our products come from China.
Got it. I imagine that the necklace stuff and the clothing stuff is very competitive, but with the home and the baby stuff, I definitely get it more. How do you think about competitiveness? I guess you kind of said that it's a big market.
Yeah, so I do something a bit unique that most people do not do, which is we focus on what we like to call untapped products, which most people in like the drop shipping space or e-commerce, whatever you want to say, is like they are selling things that everyone else is selling, right? So they're basically fighting for a small piece of the pie. What we do is we like to find products that nobody has sold yet. So we are like 100% owner of the pie. Now, eventually people are going to see it, right? So that will eventually happen. So generally speaking, it's really not that competitive. It's just harder to find the untapped products. But when you do, I mean, it just pays off so well. But our philosophy, so we use American Express and they have, it's a charge card, which we pretty much have like unlimited spend on it because we built a really good relationship with them. So kind of what we do and our philosophy on scaling is that we like to scale a product and kind of tap out that product before anyone else has even seen it, right? So we'll take this necklace, for example. We find the necklace, we scale it hard to the point where, okay, let's say, 2, 3 months down the line, somebody finally sees the ads and they're like, oh, I want to run this. We've already tapped out the audience. So by the time they're going to run it and they're going to, think of a new angle, we've milked it for everything it is. So it's not really, our problem at that point.
What's the secret to finding new products? Have you like been to China and gone to like the Canton Fair or whatever it's called, or how do you find the products?
Yeah, so I would love to go to China and kind of do that. That's one of the things I wrote. So I have a product research thread. Any of you guys can look it up. It's probably the best thread on Twitter, to be quite honest, for e-commerce. Just type in at Wi-Fi made product research and it'll pop up. But, this is kind of like the hot topic. And I would say right now, TikTok is the best way to find them. If you don't want to mindlessly scroll through TikTok and get hit with ads and things like that, there are product research softwares you can use. Minia, for example, you can use a free account for, I think it's up to 500 searches. That's a good one. WL Spy, which is owned by my friend Ecom Baba, is also a really good one. You guys can actually use code Latina10 and get 10% off any of that.
There you go.
Uh, and I don't, guys, I don't get paid for that. That's, I don't know. It's just a funny promo code we made. But yeah, so you guys can use that. Another really good thing to do is category scrolling through AliExpress, which is very boring, but it works. So that's a good way. Chinese trade shows is one that I was talking about in there. And then kind of a more like, this is definitely a more frowned upon method, but this definitely does happen, right? Is that if you have a good relationship with a supplier, you can go ahead and ask the supplier, like, hey, what are your other clients selling? And if you bring them a lot of business, usually they're going to tell you. You're going to say, hey, they won't tell you who it is specifically, but usually they'll say, hey, I have a client that's selling 200 units a day of, this back brace or whatever, right? They won't say the name of the client, but then you say, okay. And then you look it up and you make your decision if you want to move on from there. But yeah, those are some quick tips on how to find new products.
Cool. We'll kind of move on from the e-commerce stuff a bit because it might be boring to people that aren't in the space. But I had one question that's sort of a microcosm of this. I imagine when it comes to importing things from China and creating these e-commerce stores, that you have to invest a lot upfront before knowing if it's going to work, right? You probably have to invest in a big shipment. You got to invest in the ads. Does that sound accurate? And if so, does that impact the YOLO aspect that we talked about earlier, where you're willing to make big bets in life?
Oh no, so we it's very very low risk for us. So we only spend like 1 to 200 bucks to see if a product's good or not. Like it's very quick. I hold zero inventory. The only time we're holding inventory is right now. It's because it's Chinese New Year, so we have to buy it in advance. But in order to test a product, we do not buy inventory in advance. Like we're literally just drop shipping it from our agent. So it's pretty low risk. So that is a reason why I really do like the business model.
Got it. So the way to test it is just $100 or $200 worth of ads
Yep.
before you even. like buy it?
Yeah.
Okay, sick. And so if someone buys a necklace, right, and they just like it must not be that expensive, like $50, $150, and then that's shipped like to every individual client directly.
Yep. Straight to them from the supplier.
It's pretty cool.
Hell yeah. That's why I love dropshipping.
Okay, I'm gonna mix it up. How did you build like such a big Instagram following?
Yeah, so it's a lot of shout outs, right? So I've collaborated with a lot of people. Right now, majority of them, like I post a lot, especially on my story in Spanish because I do have a lot of Spanish followers. And then definitely like through my travels, I've met and we'll say mingled with a few Spanish influencers, and yeah, getting tagged on their story definitely helps out quite a bit. But before that, like I would say probably I have like 30, like I don't know, 36 or 37,000 on Instagram. I would say probably 10,000 are from US, and then the rest are from Latin America. The US ones, that was all just like, it's pretty much all either people I went to school with, and then after that was be like people from the ecom community. So that's kind of how I built my Instagram.
Got it. So it's all ecom people and drop shippers that follow each other.
Yeah.
Because you've done it with only 6 posts. Like I'm sure you've deleted some along the way, but you're getting like 1,000 plus likes on every photo. So you must be doing something right in terms of networking and so forth.
Yeah, I'm not really big on doing like actual posts. It's mainly the stories is where I do a lot of it. Like I get a lot of story views. But yeah, I've deleted, or they're not deleted, but I guess you technically archived, probably like
Mhm.
5 posts or something like that. And so I don't know. Sometimes I just think like, okay, I want to archive this. But what I do right now is I have like I said, about 5 posts archived because anyone who follows me on Instagram knows I get probably 2 to 4 impersonation accounts per month of people like, trying to scam people like, oh, how's your crypto trading going? Send me Bitcoin, blah, blah, blah. So what I'll do is every time a new one pops up, I will unarchive some of my archived photos. So that way people can see like, okay, this is like actually my account. I'm still at Instagram. I'm waiting for my fucking blue check. I've been waiting for the longest time, but yeah.
Definitely makes sense. Is the Instagram for you just like a fun thing and an ego boost, or does it really make money kind of with the link in the bio?
Yeah, no, the Instagram definitely makes money, but Instagram for me is more so a networking tool rather than like not an ego boost because like I'm definitely like a 100%. I'll say this, like if and when Instagram gives me that blue check, I'm DMing everyone, like every fucking famous reggaetonera, like oh my God, like Carol G, you're gonna get a DM. Rosalia, you're gonna get a DM. Like that will be insane. But yeah, no, it doesn't really give me like an ego boost. It's mainly just like showcasing my life. Like I don't post any cheesy entrepreneurial stuff, which like I have like an Instagram page for my course. I'll post it on there, but yeah, I've never tried to like I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Instagram for me is just like a digital postcard of my life. It's just like my travels, funny stuff that I think is good, and then occasionally just like, hey guys, buy my course. But yeah,
Okay. Tell me a bit about networking with Latino influencers that you kind of alluded to. What do you mean by that?
yeah. So I love to go out. That's, everyone knows this. I love to go out. And every country I go to, every city I go to, I make it my mission that every single night I go out and I have to meet people. Like that's just my mission. I try and meet at least 5 new people every single time I go out. So, through time, I have met quite a few ladies who have, pretty significant followings. You guys would be so surprised how many girls in like, especially Colombia. Colombia by far is the one that I've noticed the most. In like small towns or just, in a town like Medellin, right? How many girls will have like 80, 100, 200, 300,000 followers, right? And when you meet them, if you play your cards right, you can get them to post you on their story and tag you, and it works fucking wonders. So yeah, the most that I've had from there would be from Medellin and then from Playa. A lot of influencers come to Playa, and if you
Mhm.
can get them to post you on your story, it's a crazy follower boost.
So, what's the nuanced technique that you use?
You know, if you want to call it manipulation, you can call it that if you want. They might call it being a toxico, but you just have to, sell a dream, make them, which I do love them. I really do. I fall in love like every trip I go on, but it's only like for the weekend. So I'll be like, oh, baby, you're not going to post me this, and this. I thought we were nothing. You got to play your cards, right? But yeah, there's certain techniques, but yeah, you just got to, sell the dream.
Dude, I'm doubling down on this one. I want to know the techniques. You just say, like, you got to tag me so I know it's real.
Basically, yeah, because you could be like, look, like I'm only here right now, but I feel like we could have like such a good life together. Which is, it sounds messed up, but the funny thing is, like, I'm telling you, like, I'm a very like genuine person. I really do fall in love every single time I go on a trip. Like, I will always find like at least one or two girls that I'm just like head over heels in love with for the 1 or 2 weeks that I'm there. Like, I am just like, oh my god, this is amazing. So then I'll be like, I don't want all these other guys in your DMs. Like, I need to be on your stories so that way they know. Yeah, it's fun, man. I really do enjoy that stuff.
Okay. This is a PG-13 podcast, by the way, but we're gonna toe the line a little bit.
Okay.
So tell me a bit about like your funnel for networking, let's call it. Are you meeting people more at the clubs or online, or how are you getting to
Yeah.
these girls that have big followings?
Okay. So obviously everyone knows about like Tinder. I try and stay away from this as much as possible, especially in country like Colombia, just because there's a lot of issues right now with
Hmm.
people getting the scopolamine, which I have a story about that for my friend. Um, but I try and stay away from those. I know a lot of people are very like introverted and they don't really like to go out and meet people. So, that is a good option. But I try not to do that. My best advice is this: go on to your Instagram, pick your best photo. And then what you're going to do is you're going to boost the post. Let's say I'm in, um, I don't know, let's just say I'm in Quito, Ecuador, right? Take your best photo on Instagram, set it to boost your post and set it from women 18 to like 24 or whatever age range you want, and then put it in Quito and then just blast the budget. And then what's going to end up happening is that you're going to get a lot of girls liking your photos and following you. And then the ones you think are cute, you follow them back and then you go like that. That's a really, really good thing that nobody does. If you have like a decent amount of money, I'd recommend spending anywhere between like 20 to $100 a day on Boost, and you will be fucking shocked how many fucking leads that you'll have come in. So that's a really good one. But by far the best way is meeting people out. I personally love to dance. I'm not really good at dancing like salsa or anything like that. But when it comes to like reggaeton, I love to dance. So I'm really good at meeting people like that.
And when you're running the ads on Instagram, is it with the story or with the post?
No, with your actual post. So if anyone is, I'll pull up my Instagram right now. So you go on
Because you
Instagram,
can
go
you
to,
can do either one, right?
yeah, I just think that the post works a little bit better. So yeah, you just go on and then you just literally press boost post. I think you have to have a business account. So if you're not on a business account, it might not show up. So you could just switch it to a business account. You just press boost post and then it's pretty simple. Like they pretty much walk you through the process on how to do it on Instagram. So yeah, that's like a by far a really underrated tip. And every time I tell people that, like I don't tell like if I'm in Playa, for example, where I know there's a bunch of foreigners, I'll never tell them that because I don't want them to fucking, steal all my prospects.
I've heard this one for a little while now, but so that's good. But you're only following like 750 people, so so you got like 37K to 750. Good ratio, obviously. When you run the post, you're probably going to get tons of girls liking your photo, or oh, you know what's interesting is if you run a story, they're DMing you, right? But if you're running a post, are you just getting likes, or are they also going to DM you?
Likes and follows, the I would say the percentage of them that actually DM you first is pretty low. That's
Right.
usually not going to happen, especially to like the influencer type ones that have like pretty substantial followings. I mean, I really can't even think of a time where one just immediately DM me first. So usually what you want to do is if they followed you and you think they're cute, obviously follow them back and then reply to one of their stories. Or if they just liked your photo and they didn't follow you, you can follow them. And if they follow you back, great. If not, unfollow them and move on to the next. But yeah.
Right. Because I think I've seen some guys do, they boost the stories, and then in the story, they have like a call to action, like DM me, like, ¿Quién quiere salir esta noche?
Yeah.
DM me, you know?
So my thing about that would be, typically speaking, the type of girls that are going to DM you first are probably not the type of girls that you really want to be with.
That's fair.
Yeah, so I try and stay away. Like, you're either gringo hunters, which, I don't want something that's been absolutely plowed through by everyone else, or they have some sort of ulterior motive, like, for example, scoping you and taking your stuff. So I try and stay away from those types as much as possible.
What was your first trip to Latin America? Where did you go?
I went to Mexico. I went to Cancun, and it was a very eye-opening trip. It was, I a few things happened on that trip. So one is that I got that first taste of foreign fun, if you know what I'm saying. So that was very, very good. And then the second thing that happened is I actually got not stabbed, but I got cut by a security guard in Cancun, which, this is not to scare anyone from going to Cancun. Usually it's extremely safe. It's just that I'll cut that whole story, but essentially I was defending a group that I was with from these two secure, or there was technically three security guards, and I socked one of the security guards just dead in the fucking face, and then the other one pulled out a knife and tried to stab me, and then I dodged it, and then on the way back, when he was pulling back in his knife, he like sliced my right arm like down by my wrist. So that was a very interesting trip. But yeah, no, usually guys like Cancun's like extremely safe. Just don't punch security guards.
That's fair. So Cancun, hotel zone, probably first
Yep.
taste. Tell us all a little bit more about how you started going in the direction of Latin America, because you have really done a lot in that direction. My understanding is you've been learning Spanish for quite a long period of time now. Obviously, you're networking. You've been to different countries. Tell us a little bit about your LATAM journey.
Yeah, of course. I'd highly recommend everyone go to Latin America. It's the best place in the world. One thing that people often don't know is that, like, obviously, if you guys see me on Instagram or Twitter, like, I am white, but I'm also Salvadoran. Like, my grandma is from El Salvador. So
Oh, no
I've
shit.
always had a pretty good understanding of Spanish. But when I moved to Miami, there's a saying in English, like, if you don't use it, you lose it, right? So I had pretty much forgot everything. Like, I was never like fully fluent, but I'd pretty much forgot everything. And then when I moved to Miami, I took a bunch of Spanish classes on Baselang, which is like a really good website, and I became pretty much fully fluent in like 6 months. And then I just took a bunch of LATAM trips, and yeah, now I'm like really really good at it. But yeah, the reason I just started going down there was I just love to have fun. Like, I just love to have fun. And you've tweeted this. I can't even tell you how many times, and it's so true that any city in Latin America with like 500,000 people or even less, you're going to have a fantastic time. Like, you are going to find amazing things to do. And so I just wanted to, travel and experience that. And obviously it's very cheap to travel too. So, if I'm spending, 10K at the club here in Miami, I can get that same experience for spending like 1 or 2K in Mexico or in another country. Um, I'm this year, I'm definitely trying to go to a lot more countries, because my problem is that I've done, I think, four or five countries, but I've traveled to each one multiple times, and
Hmm.
I just keep going back to the same cities because I love them so much. Uh, but yeah, this year I'm really gonna try and hit Brazil. I'm going to for Carnival in March, so I'm excited for that. And then next month I'm actually going back to Playa. Funny enough, even though I literally just went like two times in a row. I'm going back to Playa next month, then Brazil after that, and then I'm gonna go to Guadalajara, Mexico, for my tequila brand,
Hmm.
and I'm going to El Salvador this year to visit my family. I'm going to go to Cuba, Nicaragua, and Costa Rica. So I'm going to start really hitting out all the different countries and exploring the culture because it's just, I mean, you know this very well. The culture is just amazing. You're always going to have a good time no matter what.
This is true. So you did Cancun first. What was your second country or city after that?
Cancun and then Playa four times after that. And then the next country after that would have been Colombia. And oh my God, I fell in love with Colombia. I love that place so much. Uh, yeah. And I think a good starter place for everyone to go is like Tulum or Playa del Carmen. It's just so easy, especially if you don't speak any Spanish. Like most people there speak English. So that's like a
Hmm.
really good starter place. Colombia, I would probably know a little bit of Spanish before you go, just so nobody tries to like finesse you.
Yeah. I think I've fallen into that same trap where I keep going back to the same spots and doubling down. So where are those five or six spots that you've doubled down on? I guess Quito, Ecuador is one of them as well. I guess run us through the list.
Okay, so by far my favorite spots, one has to be Playa, just because I have so many friends there. I've, also if you want to call them girlfriends, I have those there, right? So Playa, and also it's very close to Miami, so it takes me an hour flight. The second one would, I will say Medellin, but when I say Medellin, I do like the city. However, there's some problems with it right now. I like smaller cities outside of Medellin. I'll give everyone like there's a city about 1.5 to 2 hours by car away from Medellin called La Ceja. And this city, it has maybe like 50,000 people. And it was one of the best experiences of my whole life was staying there. The people are incredibly nice. It's probably the nicest people I've ever met in my life. There's very beautiful girls. So I really like that one. Manizales is good. It's a little bit cold, but I really do like to go there. Pereira, I've never been to Bogota. I've heard great things, but that's something I'm going to try out soon. But yeah, in Colombia, it would be La Ceja, Medellin, and then maybe like Barrera and Manizales. In Ecuador, it's definitely going to be Quito and La Parque Carolina, which is like the very upscale part of Quito. It's basically like the Beverly Hills of Quito, if you want to call it that. And
Hmm.
then Mexico would be Playa. So also San Juan in Puerto Rico, but that's technically part of the United States. So I don't know if you really want to count it, but that's also a good place.
Definitely Latin America still.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're definitely lucky being in Miami because everything is a direct flight, cheap flight. So you're doing a good job of popping around.
Yeah.
Um,
No.
tell us a little bit about Ecuador because I think a lot of listeners have probably been to Playa, they've probably been to Medellin, or at least they're familiar with them in theory. Tell us a little bit more about Quito and give us some alpha on Quito.
Yeah, man. So shout out to Ecuador, which I actually just decided today. I just posted on my Instagram. I'm gonna go to Ecuador next. Oh, yeah. So I'm going to Playa next month, and I'm also going to Ecuador next month. One of my favorite DJs, his name is John Summit. He posted that he is going to be in I forgot what city it is. Oh, Montanita, and he's going to be doing a DJ set there. And I was like, all right, well, let's go. So I love Ecuador. One thing I'll say about Ecuador is that it is extremely cheap. Like I was even in the most nice area, which is La Parque Carolina, it was so cheap. I was blown away. It's really safe too. And if you stay in that area, if you go to other areas, I mean, this is similar to any country, any city. There's nice parts and there's, not so nice parts. Generally speaking, if you stay in that area, it's going to be good. There's smaller cities outside which are also nice, like Tumbaco, which is that's a really good one. Kumbaya is very very nice as well. But I would highly recommend everyone stay in the area of Quito that I was telling you about. Um, it depends what you guys like to do. Like if you guys like to party, there is a really good club I recommend everyone go to called Salvaje. Absolutely amazing. If you guys, like to go shopping, there is the mall right there, and they have everything you could possibly imagine. The food is pretty good. The people are very nice. The one thing I will say though is it gets a little cold, so make sure that you guys actually pack like warm stuff because it gets a little cold there. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything specific, that I really want to say. I have like crazy stories, but um, I don't know how in depth we can go on a PG-13 podcast. But yeah, it's a good place to be. We'll just put it like that.
Let's try one out. Let's try a story out while you have it on the top of your mind.
Okay, so there is a place. Oh man, yeah, I don't know. I might have to censor this one a little bit. There's a place in Quito called Dollhouse, which I'm pretty sure just from the name, you guys can probably infer what type of place this is. But there is a place in Quito called Dollhouse, and yeah, I can't go into specifics on it. Just know if you're a young guy and you're single and you like to have fun, definitely check out a place called Dollhouse. Yeah, I'm thinking about this right now. This is probably not a story. It might be a little
Yeah,
bit too.
I don't know if we can do strip club stories.
Yeah, no, don't worry. So I'm good at censoring stuff. So yeah, that's just here. That's just a good recommendation if you are a guy going to Quito and looking to have some fun. There is your recommendation right there.
All right. When you go to Quito, do you normally do Airbnbs or hotels?
Always Airbnb. I always in any country, always Airbnb. The thing that I here. The reason I do Airbnbs rather than hotels is because with hotels, they have that annoying thing where it's like if you want to bring someone back, you have to do the whole ID check. And if you guys are on a good vibe and, sometimes that can just ruin it. So I
Hmm.
100% do Airbnbs every time. And plus, I feel that Airbnbs give you a little bit more authentic feel for the culture rather than a hotel. But hotels are nice if you already have someone that you're bringing with you on a trip. Then I would do a hotel.
I can agree with that. So you're familiar with scopolamine, right? The drug that sort of roofies people and they drug and rob people. Long story short, obviously a big deal in Medellin, which you're probably familiar with. Have you found that it's seeped over into Ecuador? That's really my question is like, what's the
Yes.
deal? What's the deal in Ecuador with this and how careful do you have to be in Quito?
So I think in general, right? So I'm gonna knock on wood real quick. I've never been scoped, right? Even though I've definitely mingled with my fair share of people. I've never been scoped, and I think in any place you go, you just need to use common sense, right? And I'll touch on what it's like in Ecuador about the scopolamine in a second, but you just need to use common sense, right? Like if you are at a bar or you're walking on the street and two absolute smoke shows walk up to you and say, "Let's have a threesome," there should be alarms going off in your head, right? Or you should always, cover your drinks, or if something looks too good to be true, it probably is. So just use common sense for them. And that's, that can't prevent it always, but it's going to prevent a lot of, the possibilities. But in Quito, I know two people who have been scoped. One of them was a girl that I had met. She was, she told me she was with another fucking gringo, like, maybe like 2 months before I was there, and they got scoped. And then my friend got scoped while I was in Quito the last time. But that was a bit of a unique situation because he actually got set up by one of our Ecuadorian friends. Well, he's no longer our friend, but he actually got set up to get robbed by him. And I'm not saying this to scare anyone. This was like a very, very unique situation. So we were in Ecuador, and we both make pretty good money. So we were popping $3,000 to $5,000 worth of bottles every night, and that definitely caught some attention of some people. And what ended up happening is that this guy, actually, I'll say his name. His name was Brian. Brian told my friend to take this girl home in a taxi, which, he called the taxi. And my friend ended up, kind of going missing and we couldn't find him. We went to the police, and at this point, it's like 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning. And, we eventually found him, or well, he came back to our place and without any of his stuff. But yeah, that was a bit of a unique situation, but I think what people really need to look out for is it's in Colombia. That's definitely where it's at the worst right now. Mexico, that's not even a worry, but
Hmm.
Ecuador, honestly, Ecuador, it's not something I'm too worried about. But in Colombia, like if you guys are gonna go there, and especially if you guys are gonna go there with the intention of, mingling around, it's something you really, really, really need to look out for.
This is true, guys. We're speaking from experience, not because we got finessed, but we know a lot of stories. All right. What was I going to ask? So, popping $3,000 of bottles a night in a club in Latin America. You say that you go out a lot. You say that you do a lot of networking. Do you want to kind of like walk us through what your ideal night out looks like? I'm sure you've sort of developed some workflows about how you enjoy going out. What just kind of like, yeah, I'm losing the
Yeah,
word, but you know what I mean.
no,
Just like
I
your
know
your way
exactly.
of going out.
Yeah. So it depends if I'm traveling solo or if I'm traveling with friends. So if I'm traveling with friends, or like even if I traveled there solo and I have friends I'm staying with or whatever, usually what I like to do is I like to throw like a pre-party at whoever's Airbnb or apartment. So it'd be me, let's say one or two guys, and then we'll get like a room full of girls. We'll start having fun, the dancing, everything, set the vibes off right. And then we will usually go to like a bar, and then we'll go to a club, usually like that. If it's just me, I usually won't invite a girl over to like pregame at my place. That's just not really what I like to do. If it's just me, I'll usually either meet them at the bar, and then we'll go to the club after that. I just really like the club. I know a lot of people don't like the club, which is, it's perfectly okay. Everyone likes different stuff. I call it making movies, right? Like I just love to see like lights. I love to see bottles popped. I don't know. It's just once the funny thing is like they say your environment changes you. Before I moved to Miami, I had never been to the club once, not once. And then I was also very frugal before I moved to Miami, extremely frugal. So it was very interesting. Once I went to the club, I became just absolutely addicted. And then, yeah, the amount of money I spent on the club it's quite ridiculous. But I don't know. It's just something that I enjoy in life for the moment. So it's just something I'm going to keep doing.
So I remember you tweeted about a week ago saying, if anyone's in Playa del Carmen, come to La Vaquita. It's going to be a movie. How did that go just last week?
Well, funny enough, I actually ended up not going to Vaquita for Saturday night because they actually tried to finesse me, which is it hurt me, bro. Because Ecom Bob and Ecom Legend are the two guys I went to play with for the first time. We fell in love with La Vaquita. I know all the workers. It's the point where when I come, the entire staff come and hug me because I'm there spending like like I think our best night was like 10 grand at Vaquita, and then we're leaving them huge tips. So like we're paying like they're basically like a year's worth of wages, by the time we're out of Playa every time. So they fucking love us there. But what ended up happening is at this point it was already my birthday because my birthday was on Saturday, but it had already passed midnight, and I went there on Friday night, and they tried to add on like two or three extra bottles to my tab, and I was like, I don't know, I just got really butthurt about that. So I ended up not going there. I went to Clandestino instead, which is my new favorite club. And
Hmm.
yes, it was an absolute fucking movie. Shout out to all the Argentinian people. You guys made my night there. So yeah, no, we were going fucking crazy. The DJ was just nonstop. Happy birthday to Josh from Miami, and then the whole lights would come on me. I fucking smacking the Patron bottle to drink it. Well, actually no, because we don't drink Patron. We drink Guapo Tequila, of course. Can't give the enemies a shout out, but yeah, it was a good time. I had a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Clandestino, I've been there many times. Um, Yeah, do we want to talk a little bit more about nightlife, or should we get into talking about the tequila?
You can talk about whatever you want, man. I'm open book.
So you mentioned on the Keeping It Real podcast that you did, and this was, I guess, 5, 6 months ago, that your vision was that you had a firm belief that you could create the largest tequila brand in the world.
Absolutely. Like, without a doubt. I mean, I literally have Alexander the Great, which, if you guys don't know who that is, he's the world's greatest conqueror. I have him tattooed on my forearm because I'm in the mindset, I'm here for conquest, So Patron, sorry guys. Casamigos, sorry. Don Julio, I'm sorry, but eventually, I don't know if you guys are going to go out of business, but eventually you guys will not be number one anymore. It might take me 10, 20 years, but yeah, it's going to get there.
So how's that been going? Because I think 5, 6 months ago you hadn't unveiled the name of it yet. Now we know the name. Tell us a little bit about how things are going.
Yeah, it's good. So I've already tried a few samples from different distilleries. I have the specialty bottle, like the special edition bottle. I already have it fully specced out. The main bottle, it is under progress right now. It'll be launching in like most likely February of 2024. Um, the formulation of the tequila and the bottle should be done by summertime of this year, and then I'm just going to be building a lot of hype and marketing for like 6 to 8 months before I launch it. But yeah, no, I'm really excited about it. It's called Guapo Tequila, and it is essentially like liquid confidence in a bottle, right? It's the essence of, everyone knows the kind of joke where it's like, let's say a guy is maybe a little bit shy, but once he gets, a few tequila shots in him, all of a sudden he could feel like he could talk to any girl. Or maybe a girl's a little shy, but once she has a few tequila shots, she starts getting loose and she starts dancing and kind of, letting out her best self. So, that's kind of the essence of what Guapo Tequila is. It is just, it's bringing out your best self, the best version of you, and, giving you that little bit of liquid confidence that you need.
That's awesome. I can see your storytelling is coming through.
That's what I do best, storytelling marketing.
So how did that come about? Like, how did you get the idea to do a tequila brand, Guapo Tequila?
Well, I've always wanted to be a billionaire, right? Which I'm pretty sure most people like always have is like, oh, I want to be a billionaire, right? But I don't think people really understand how hard it is to get to that point, right? And you need something massive. Like in order to get to $1 billion, like you need a crazy exit. And I was like, okay, I need to think of something that I can have a crazy exit in the future. And it took me quite a while. And then I was watching an interview with Dave Grutman, which, if you guys don't know who that is, they call him the King of Miami. He basically owns all the best spots in Miami: Live, Komodo, Swan, Story, Good Time Hotel, Strawberry Moon. He owns it all. Like, that dude is insane. And he said something in that interview, and he said, I'm in the fun business. And I was like, yo, I love to have fun. I want to be in the fun business. And so I was like, well, what do I love that's fun? And I was like, well, I was going down the list. I was like, well, I love tequila. And I feel like that could, pivot into so many ways. I could do music festivals. I could sign artists that I like. I could get it into clubs, this, and this. And so I was like, well, why don't I just make my own tequila? And I told a couple of my friends about it. And they're like, dude, that's perfect for you. Started doing research. It's honestly, guys, it's probably I highly would not recommend anyone to start an alcohol brand. It's one of the hardest things you could possibly do. There are much easier and much lower barrier to entry business models. But I just became so obsessed with it. I was like, this is what I'm going to do. And then, you see Casamigos, it was only around for what, 5 or 6 years, and they sold for 100 million. And I mean, obviously they had George Clooney as like the face of it, but right now, alcohol brands are, getting really good multipliers. So you have, a Kendall Jenner or Kylie, I don't know, it's one of those fucking two. They came out with their own tequila brand. The Rock has his tequila. So tequila is very hot right now. It's a very, very hot product to sell. And it's also recession proof, because no matter what, people are going to drink. So yeah, it's a good all around business.
So what makes it hard?
Well, quite a few things, especially tequila. With tequila, it can only be made in Mexico for it to be called tequila, right? In a certain region of Mexico. So that's a bit tricky, right? And then also, it takes like 6 years for an agave plant to reach maturity to harvest it, right? Oh, hold on. I don't know if I just lost connection, but it takes a few
Gotcha.
years for
Yeah,
it. What's up?
I hear you. I hear you. Keep going.
Okay, good. Yeah, so it takes a few years for an agave plant to reach maturity. So you have to wait quite a long time for each round of harvest. There is a lot of import laws between the U.S. and Mexico that you have to worry about. A lot of licensing. There is a how do you call that? An organization in Mexico. It's like a tequila inspection organization, and sometimes they need to test every single batch that you produce, and sometimes it takes them between like 2 to 3 months just to approve your batch. It's very expensive, so to start a tequila brand, there's some videos online that are absolutely lying about this. They say you could do it for like 50 grand or like 75 grand. That is complete bullshit. In my personal opinion, it costs somewhere in the ballpark of like 250 to 500K to fully launch your brand. So there's a huge amount of upfront capital needed. Yeah, it's not an easy business. I promise you guys, it is not an easy business. But if you guys are passionate about it, go for it.
Have you been to Jalisco yet, or the tequila areas of Mexico?
I have not, so this is something I'm very excited to go.
I noticed that on the Guapo Tequila Instagram page that it's only following yourself, so it's like
Yeah.
a thousand to one followers. Are you going to be using a local partner, or um, like how are you sort of navigating things on the Mexican side?
So again, funny enough, this is where me having a decent amount of lady friends comes into play. So I actually met someone in Playa who I had a really good time with. We spent about 2 weeks together, just on and off in Playa. And her family happens to own a pretty large distillery in Guadalajara. Well, it's in Tequila, Mexico, but it's right there.
Yep. Yep.
And so, yeah, so I told her about it, and I was like, hey, I really want to start a tequila brand. What's kind of a way that I can go about, getting the flavor profiles down? And so she talked to her family about it, and we haven't come to a full agreement yet on like pricing and all that good stuff. But yeah, I'm going to be using her family's distillery.
Damn. Do you think that's a bit risky with that like family connection or like lady friend connection?
No, because the thing is that she understands the concept that we are not together, right? Like I've already explained this to her before. Like this is not really something that I'm looking for full time. And the thing is, I just like to create like genuine bonds with people, right? So at the end of the day, she is my friend. Like she's like, even without physical stuff, like I enjoy spending time with her, right? So she's like a friend of mine, and so no, I'm not too worried about it. But the thing is that let's say for example something were to fall out, I can always go to another distillery. There is no shortage of distilleries in you know
Hmm.
Jalisco.
It's true. So what are you doing to like differentiate the brand? Are you going to have it like taste different or the bottle shape, or how are you going to set yourself apart in the market?
Yeah, well, I can't say all of it because you never know who's listening. But a couple things that I will say is one, tequila more or less. Listen, obviously, if there's any tequila snobs or enthusiasts, they're probably gonna fucking punch the air when I say this. But tequila can only taste so many different ways, right? So the taste will be, I mean, it's gonna taste like fucking tequila. It'll be good. I've tasted a lot of tequila, but it's gonna taste like tequila at the end of the day. It's gonna be additive free, so it will be pure agave tequila. So the main two things is going to be the special edition bottle. That's going to be really good. And then the main thing that's going to differentiate it is my marketing abilities, my abilities to tie in stories, and my ability to provoke emotions out of people, through certain things. So, yeah, it's going to be crazy. I'm very excited.
Where did you learn this ability with the storytelling and provoking emotions through the computer screen?
Um, you know, yeah, it's such a good question. I think it's just something I had to build up over time because there's certain times where I'm not compelling at all. Like I have to really be in the zone to, bring that side of myself out. I'm not like that all the time. But yeah, reading a lot of books too, like in 2018 to like 2021, I was reading so many books, like a lot of like books about marketing, a lot of books about the human brain, how it works, what makes certain things trigger, what makes certain things fire, a lot of psychology stuff. And, I just really wanted to understand what makes people click and what makes people do certain things. And I think I just realized that people, if you really think about it, people have been telling stories since the beginning of time.
Hmm.
People have been sitting around campfires and telling stories, or telling stories. Back in the Greek era and Roman era, people would, sit in these colosseums, or they would sit on, there's like famous paintings of, like Aristotle sitting on steps and people listening to him telling stories. So I just understood that, people who get ahead in life are able to convey themselves and convey their words into a story for people to follow.
Have there been any books or pieces of content that had a particularly large impact on your life?
Yeah, 100%. Um, okay, so as far as books, there's a book that everyone needs to read called Influence: The Psychology of Persuasion by Robert Cialdini. That is a fantastic book that everyone should read. Um, Another really good book to read about like marketing. There's a book called Copywriting Secrets by Jim Edwards. It's very easy to read. It has like a lot of pictures as well, but don't let that fool you. It's a really good book. Um, yeah, that's a good one. And then another really good one. mm, Specifically about like marketing. I think everyone needs to read a book called The Richest Man in Babylon. It's not really marketing focused, but
Hmm.
it's a good book that everyone should read.
Speaking of that, I had a question. I thought it'd be out of order, but since you were talking about riches, now that you're like very baller for your age, being only 24, and I guess maybe being a millionaire and dropping thousands of dollars at the club at night, do you have a hard time dealing with or having friends that aren't in such a fortunate position? Maybe they're just like standard 100K a year digital nomads. How's the sort of dynamic with you and your friends?
That's so crazy is that, 100K digital nomad is considered like, standard. I still think 100K is like, that's a great living for so many people. But yeah, I have like an interesting dynamic where it's like all my hometown friends, none of them make any sort of significant money. Um, but I don't really go out to like the clubs with them. My thing is this, right? I don't really ever have people try and take advantage of me. Uh, I just care about, their ethics, right? So for example, there are like, for example, friends in Playa, right? I have quite a lot of friends that live in Playa that are, they're foreigners, right? They're digital nomads, whatever you want to call them, and they obviously cannot pay for, a few $1,000, and I understand that. But they always offer to pay. That's a huge thing. Or like they'll pitch in their part that say, okay, well, maybe, I drank a whole bottle's worth of tequila with, me and my girl that I was with. Let me pay you at least for a bottle or something like that. They say your vibe attracts your tribe. So if you are a good person, you would more or less be surrounded by good people and genuine people. So that's never really been too big of an issue. Of course, there have been instances where, I run into this kind of stuff, but also too, it's like usually I'm the one inviting people out, right? I love to invite people out. And I think it's extremely unfair if I invite you out knowing that, what I like to do, which is to have like a grand, extravagant time. It would be extremely unfair for me to invite you out and then expect you to, split the bill half and half with me. I think that's extremely unfair. Um, so it's just kind of like a knowing thing where it's like, okay, if you invite me out and we have a good time, okay, well, you know what you're getting yourself into, at least maybe just pay your part. If it's, if I order 10 bottles, just buy one or something like that, right? If it's me inviting you out, consider that, my gift to you for the night.
Very cool. It's funny, we didn't even get into this in this episode, but you had a stroke at some point and almost died like a year
Yep.
ago. You had to go to the hospital a couple times even after that.
Yep.
But it's kind of funny that now you're still hard charging and you're building a tequila brand.
Yeah. So, at the time, so this happened last year. I was just under a lot of stress business wise. I had like a family member who had passed, and then I had also just broken up with my ex girlfriend. And there was just a lot that was going on at the time. I was just under a fucking immense amount of stress. So, yeah, I had a stroke and kidney failure at the exact same time, which was pretty fucking intense. Definitely would not recommend that experience for anyone. Uh, but I was in the hospital for a little over a week, and it was a horrible experience, but it was also one of the best experiences because I just felt like invincible. Like nothing could kill me, right? Which obviously there's many things that could kill me, but it just made me realize that, I just want to enjoy my life while I'm here. So that's kind of what provoked the partying. And it's something that I'm really going to try and slow down on because I have partied myself into the hospital like 3 or 4 more times. That part, the stroke and the kidney failure wasn't because of partying. But after I got out the
It was
hospital,
like MMA, I think.
yeah. So the stroke was due to stress, um, and also from the kidney thing. But yeah, the kidney thing happened because of what's called rhabdomyolysis, which is I was training so fucking hard that my muscles were breaking down at an accelerated rate, and it released a toxin into my blood, which shut down my kidneys. So that's what happened with the kidneys. And then between the stress and then between my blood being, I don't know if you want to call it poisoned or whatever, my brain was not getting enough oxygen, which then led to the stroke. So yeah, it was pretty intense. Again, guys, I highly recommend to take care of yourself at all times. But yeah, I don't know. It just sent me in a crazy mindset where I was like, man, I could drop dead tomorrow at any point. So I might as well just enjoy my life while I'm here. And yeah, but it's something I really am trying to slowly but surely kind of wean myself off of because yeah, I literally went to the hospital like 3 or 4 times last year just because I wasn't giving my body enough rest. I was just go, 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 go. Like Art Basel week, for example, I was in the hospital after that because I went absolutely nuts on a bender. Didn't sleep for like 4 days, but yeah.
So you had one tweet that I liked. I think you've even had a couple different variations of this, which reads as follows: My future wife is somewhere in a small Colombian village tending to cows and reading the Bible.
Yes, yes, she is. Uh, yeah. So look, I think my wife is definitely in Colombia. I think that's where she is, and I am so drawn. Okay, actually, hold on. Let me put this two separate ways. I have had girls, like girlfriends, like actual girlfriends, that were very party, right? They love to go out, and I like that because I'm very extroverted. I love to go out, and I've also had a girl. She wasn't my girlfriend. She was almost my girlfriend, but she did not go out and do anything, right? Like she was very much a homebody, which kind of drove me insane. But I realized that the best girls in life are the ones that don't go out and do stuff, and the ones that aren't jaded to reality, like the Miami girls, right? And I figured, man, what a better way to find them than in some small Colombian town where they've never even been to a club or they've never gotten flown out to a big city before. And every small Colombian town I've ever been to has the nicest people, the most genuine people I've ever met in my life. Yeah, every time I go to a small town, they're like, "Oh my God, who the fuck is this gringo? Why is he here?" why can he communicate with us? And yeah, so I really do think that's my play, is that, and you know, I would say probably by the time I'm like 28 to 32, somewhere in that range, just stay in Colombia for like 2 years, just travel to like a bunch of like little like 10,000 person farm villages and just find one.
Yeah, our friend of the podcast, Stakes is High, had a similar philosophy in his episode that you guys can check out. Him being in Florianopolis and wanting to just go into the smaller interior Brazil for a
Oh,
similar reason.
that's another place that I could find one. I just haven't been there yet. I'm going, like I said, in March for Carnival. So potentially I might have to switch that tweet to a small Brazilian farming town.
You can recycle it. You know what could also work though is Altos de Jalisco.
Yes. So I've
So,
heard.
uh,
Yes, I've heard good things about the region. So I will be there, and I will definitely, I will give it a shot, and we'll see what happens. Who knows?
have you ever thought about going full nomad, or do you enjoy the having the base in Miami?
100% need a base. 100%. I do not like the idea of not having a place to come back to. I was originally thinking about it, but the more I thought about it, I just can't do it. Like every time I do love to travel, but every time I come back to Miami, I just have a huge smile. I'm just so happy to be back, even though I had a great time, and wherever I went. I know for a lot of people, it's not economically feasible to do that, right? Because like in Miami, I have like pretty significant overhead. Like my rent's about like $4,200 a month. My car
Woo!
with insurance is about $1,500 a month, and then obviously like bills and stuff like that. So my monthly overhead, without going out or doing anything, with everything in total, is probably somewhere around like 7 to 8 grand. So I understand like not everyone can, do that. But for those of you who can, I'd highly recommend, like having some sort of place you can just kind of come back to.
And why? What do you like about the base? What puts the smile on your face when you go back?
Like I said, it's just Miami. I think Miami is just the thing that makes me smile. Like, for example, yesterday I got back, and then my business partner Kendall, he came over to work on the course with me, and then we went out with some girls, had a good time. But dude, as soon as I walked out of my building, because like I was like in my go out clothes, blah blah blah, I just had the fattest smile on my face. I was like, oh my god, dude, I'm so happy to be back. So yeah, and then who knows? Maybe some shit happens in some country. I'm like, okay, well, I need to chill for a second. Like I always have a place to come back to, my own bed. I don't know. It's just something that I like. But some people, they can do the digital nomad and, not have like a home or something. And that works for them. Like my friend Bill, he's been a digital nomad for like 4 years now. And it works out amazing for him. And he's just like, yeah, I don't want a fucking home. I don't want a car. So, more power to him. And he's saving a lot more money like that too.
Hmm. You do have very high monthly expenses as an entrepreneur. How does that stress you out at all, or do you have like
No.
a mix of income streams, and do you feel like you're clearing that pretty easily?
Yeah. I always hate, sometimes I hate talking about money because it sounds like so douchey if you try and, but I'm doing all right, So I've done a pretty good job, in my life of creating a system to where, I can pretty much live the life that I want to live, and I'll just leave it at that. So, yeah, it's not something that I'm worried about. And if it ever became something that I was worried about, I think the simple answer is I just need to work harder to increase my income. Yeah.
Fair enough. I did see something about. I guess this was a recent promotion. I think where you were looking to bring people on, and if they hit a certain metric, you were going to
Yep.
give them a Rolex.
100%. Yeah. So my newest course that just came out, Ecom PhD. One of our things is that if you go through Ecom PhD and you hit 7 figures in sales, and we'd obviously have to verify everything to make sure, it's not manipulated or anything like that. But if you go through Econ PhD and you do seven figures in sales, we'll get you a Rolex. So I don't know any other e-commerce course or any course in general that's willing to, bet on their students like that, or to even, back up what they teach. So yeah, if any of you guys want to win a Rolex, you guys know what to do. Make that money.
So how realistic is that to hit seven figures with the e-com store?
I mean, it's really just how much work do you put in. So, like for example, the Discord group, it has like 3,300 members or 3,400 members, and then
Wow.
out of those, like I would say 300 of them were like probably like 10% of them were actually paid members, and out of those, like it's always the ones that were obsessed that became successful. So like my top student, his name was Kevin, and in 1 month he went from 0 to 100K in revenue. That is not typical. Like that's, trust me, that's really not typical. But he was just obsessed. Like I got on the phone call with him. I was like, dude, what the fuck? And he was just like, yeah, like I live and breathe e-commerce. Just like every second, every waking hour of my day is just e-com. And I was like, all right, cool. So you have like him, which he's, I think now probably done maybe a mil, maybe. I don't think he's hit that point yet because this was only what, in October or September, something like that. Drix is my other biggest student. He's probably done a little over a mil now. Stanley's done around a mil. Tommy's done over a mil. But the thing is that all these guys, like, and I'm not trying to sell anything because like that's not typical. Like it's really not. These are just the guys that put in all their effort, right? And most people, when they go through programs, they don't put in all their effort, so they don't get those type of results, right? Most people will, you know, they'll be either they'll skim through the videos or they'll think they're putting an effort when realistically they're only working like 2 or 3 hours a day when they should be working every waking hour, to make something work. So it is possible. Anyone can do it. Like I am not the smartest guy in the world. I mean, I had a stroke for God's sake, and so I've, probably zapped like half my brain cells, and I can still make it happen. So I'm pretty sure any of you listening to this can make it happen.
Yeah. One last free game question before we wrap up. So, are there any aspects of ecom that worked for maybe the last 5 years that just are not going to work for the next 5 years, and people need to be looking in a different direction when it comes to ecom?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say, okay, maybe a couple parts to this, but one is just gonna be like effort. So, for example, like when I first started in like 2017 up until like early 2019, you could do like extremely low effort ads, extremely low effort stores, and you could just print money. Like it was just it was a great time. Now it requires a lot more effort. You need to really put in the extra mile. But besides the effort aspect, um, yeah, I would say you need to be omni-channel. So oftentimes, like people, they'll just focus on TikTok ads or they'll just focus on Facebook ads, but you need to be omni-channel. So a lot of these ad platforms, they are very strict and they're shutting people down. Even if you're not doing anything wrong, you could still get shut down. It's the most annoying thing in the world. So let's say, for example, you're only selling on Facebook. Well, if Facebook shuts you down, you just lost your business because you're not advertising anywhere else. And if you're not getting new customers, well, you don't have a business, right? So I try and be omni-channel, right? So do Facebook ads, do TikTok ads, do Google ads, do Snapchat ads, do Pinterest ads. You need to spread it out, and then eventually Twitter ads will be good, but Twitter's kind of shit right now. Their ad platform is not good, so hopefully within the next 2 years that'll be good. But yeah, you need to be omni-channel. Like the days of just being able to run on one platform, it's over. At that point, you don't have a business. You just have like, maybe a little cash flow machine for like a month, and then you're going to get turned off. So yeah, being omni-channel as much as possible.
Yep, definitely makes sense to me. Reduce the platform risk.
Yeah, you have to, because like I said, if you're only relying on one platform, you don't have a business, because if that platform shuts you off or they ban you, what are you going to do?
Hmm. Cool, man. Well, yeah, let's wrap it up there, and let's use this time to get your message out to the audience and share anything that you want to, and direct people towards the ecom PhD, etc.
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk about the econ PhD in a second, but like, I really do believe, guys, that whether you are religious or not, you believe in an afterlife, we have one life present here on this earth. And, I think that everyone listening to this deserves to have the best life possible. I really do. I believe that you deserve to have a great life. I believe that your family deserves to have a great life. So, it's important that you work hard and make a lot of money. So that way, whatever your goals are, whether it's, to sit at home with your wife on the couch and watch TV, that's fantastic. Whether it's to, do what I do, which is to go out or travel a lot, that's fantastic. You just need to find some sort of way to do it. And I wholeheartedly believe everyone can. Like I said, I'm genuinely not the smartest person in the world. So if I can do it, you can do it too. I really do love everyone who interacts with me and supports me. So I want the best for all of you. But yeah, by Econ PhD, it's my course. If you want to check it out, you can go for it. If not, that's okay too. I've given out plenty of free game on Twitter. So you guys should be able to get a start there for free. So it costs you absolutely nothing. But yeah, I just want to say thank you everyone for listening, and I had a really good time. Uh, yeah, thank you very much.
Awesome. So this has been another episode of the My Latin Life podcast. Today's guest, CEO Josh. You can find him on Instagram, ceo.josh, or on Twitter at Wi-Fi Made. Anywhere else you want to send people?
No, that's about it. Yeah, just Instagram at CEO Josh, Twitter at Wi-Fi Made, and yeah, you can see me there. Instagram's mainly for just, I don't know, lifestyle stuff, and then Twitter is mainly for just like my intrusive thoughts that happen to make it to the internet.
Sick, man. I think this was an epic episode, and I'm sure everyone enjoyed it as well. Thanks for joining us.
Awesome, man. Thank you very much.